So what are we going to be doing?
Sorry?
So what are we going to be doing?
So they're just going to be talking about the experience in this class, but I'll make a little introduction at the beginning if you want. I'll just talk a little bit.
Okay. In French?
No, in English.
Okay.
The whole thing will be in English. All right, so now that we're at the end of the semester, and this is the freshman year, and you took this class, French 151, so it's a freshman seminar on Francophone women writers. I just wanted you to share maybe a few ideas about your experience of taking your freshman year, this class in French, and reflecting on these texts that are outside of the hexagon, so those texts that come written by women but outside of France. So if you could a little bit share your experience of what it was like to read those texts, what have you learned from those texts about French literature, about Francophone literature, but also what did you learn about this class? I mean, what did you learn in this class that helped you better understand the world in which you live, the world in which you are becoming adults. We just read this text about young women and the challenges of growing up as an adult. So, if you could share maybe a few ideas about this class, coming to William and Mary, coming from high school to William and Mary, and taking this course in French. Yes, go ahead. Just let's.
I thought it was interesting because English and French have always been my favorite subjects, and I've always loved doing the literary analysis in English, and I hadn't gotten to do that in French yet. It kind of all been grammatical structures and how we speak and like doing skits and just practicing language, but to read a text in French and talk about it in French and to feel that I've understood the beauty of it in a language that's not even my first language was a new experience for me. It was like combining the two things I love most.
That was for me too. This was like the first time coming to college and combining those two elements, like what you would normally do in an English class traditionally in the French class. But also, this class has also really made me aware of other Francophone cultures besides typical France, because you don't really think about that when you're first originally learning the language. And I really liked all the different themes that we went on and everything about. This is sort of also like women's studies in addition. I personally really enjoyed that. So.
Yeah, I thought this class was a really good representation of like liberal arts education because we were talking about women's studies, we're talking about Francophone culture, we're talking about history in general, like more recent history, and I thought it was really interesting. And then the fact that it was in a foreign language on top of that was just really great, that we had all these like interlaced subjects put together. So it was a really good experience, very different from high school where all the classes are very separate, but here we really had a nice mix and definitely made me understand topics more wholly.
Can you talk maybe more particularly about some challenges that you had in this class? What made this class more challenging or? Yes, everybody.
In high school, I was not really asked to revise my essays, and you definitely asked me to revise them, and I appreciate that so much. Because my writing's gotten a lot better, so it's been nice to have that push.
Danny.
I was just gonna say that I thought some of the texts they really pushed me to think about things that I hadn't thought about, and besides that, it was just in French, which isn't my language. It was they were also very deep and interesting texts, and so that was a challenge.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I thought this class kind of challenged us to think in a new way almost, because a lot of the texts were really abstract and kind of difficult to get into, especially since they're in French. And it just really challenged us to kind of explore different ways of writing and different ways of thinking, and I really liked that.
I thought it was interesting. I don't remember which reading it was, but there was a word I didn't know, and I put it into word reference to find out what it was in English, and I was like, I don't even know this word in English. We were just talking about these really philosophical, advanced ideas, and I liked it because I never really felt like we were holding back. I never really felt like we were saying, oh, we can only go this far because it's not our first language. It was the real deal.
No, it was great to go out with you. Like sometimes I didn't even know where we were going to go. It was fantastic. Fantastic discussion. So maybe can you share a little bit like those ideas that we explored together? What those new ideas you were exposed to, new things you haven't thought about, you had not thought about, and that you were confronted to in this class?
Almost everything we've read kind of serves as like an allegory, which at first was kind of frustrating because we'd be like, it's the story of, I don't know, Duana. And you're like, right, but it's also the story of Africa, and this story, and the story of every woman ever. And so there's layers that like I never looked for at first. I'm always like looking to like take it as it is, and so you kind of push us to like see things as more than one thing. Well, more.
So what do you think you're gonna take out of this class? I mean, what you've learned in this class, how has that helped you in other classes maybe, or what do you think you're gonna take out from this class for other classes, but also for your life in general, maybe, if anything at all? Yes.
I think seeing in this class, we all come in with different strengths from high school. Like we were all taught French in a very different way, and then all coming here and seeing where people excel just in speaking the French language and understanding the text and understanding the backgrounds, and then being able to sort of work together during class when we're discussing to work through all the different subjects and to see how different people got something different out of a text was interesting. I think that we can continue in other classes to be able to understand other people's points of view and to be able to appreciate what they think about the text, even if you think something different, and even if they excel in a way that you don't, being able to just learn how to use both of those ideas and to take them together.
Well, this course, all the texts offered a different perspective of the same issue, and I think that what I'm going to take away from this class is just being more aware of these different perspectives, because they can be really fruitful.
Yes.
I know when I signed up for this class, I was like, oh, sweet, doesn't have the writing requirement. I'm not going to have to write. No, I did have to write, but I'm actually really glad that I did, because not only did it push my French grammar and everything, but it really, in general, helped my writing overall, whether it be French or English. My thought process on how I need to formulate a paper it's definitely a lot better now.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sasha.
I agree with Eleanor. It really improved my critical analysis, especially in French. I used to find it harder to express myself when it comes to analysis in French, and with those papers we had to write, it became a lot easier.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, now it's funny talking to my friends in other classes and talking about our research paper at the end of the year, and they're like, you have to write 7 pages in French? Oh my gosh. And I guess at the beginning of the semester I would have thought that that's really a tough project to try to handle, but I think now we've definitely been well prepared throughout the semester. We know how to talk about it, we know what we want to do, and it's definitely helped for sure.
And now you write to me because you want it to be longer. I don't have enough. I need more pages.
I think I'm taking away a big sense of intellectual humility from the class, because I can remember the first day being so intimidated by what we were going to study, by you guys and your talents in French and people's thoughts, and I feel like now there's a sense of it's not quite so what do you say, what do I say in a competitive way, but a melange, a mixing of ideas that that someone might have a class that speaks to this that I'm not in, and they can say, oh, in my English class we studied this, and bring it in, and I think I've grown a lot from watching everyone kind of layer on top of each other. I wish we could write all our papers together, it would be great.
Right. You have the best paper
ever.
Yeah, I think that really is supportive of the William and Mary community overall. Coming in, I was very intimidated. I actually talked to Magali a one-on-one in the beginning of the semester, and I was a little freaked out. But as we came along, you learn, especially in William and Mary here, where there's so many intellectual and smart people, you're gonna run into the people, and that's the fun of William and Mary. That's really, I think one of the really awesome things about this college is like how so many different perspectives, so many different backgrounds, and like so many awesome people you can just talk to and interact with.
Someone always knows more than you do.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Like it's good.
Well, it's been a wonderful experience. I mean, I'm sure we'll go back to Opus Ideas next week as we wrap up and try to talk more in depth about the text that we dealt with, but it's been a wonderful experience teaching stuff. I really enjoyed it. So I want to thank you for being fantastic.
Thank you.